Hello, everyone. It's criminal profiler Pat Brown. And looks like everything electronically is working, but only because I just spent the last 30 minutes running around in a panic from house to house because the internet went down twice. so my lights are okay. I'm here in front of the camera. All right, let's just see if it all hangs in because it was like very stressful again. I'm like, why does the internet keep going down? All right, so can you see and hear me? At least as long as, I can't see out of my glasses. As long as the internet is still functioning, can you see and hear me? Let me check it out. I'm seeing lots of laughs from Martin. That's not my question though. Can you see and hear me? Or is everything like weird or something? Because you know, I never know till y'all, oh good. Do I look all blurry and weird or do I look like me? It's like some kind of pixelated cartoon. All right. Oh, good. Okay. Seems like you can see and hear me. Okay, cool. All right, let's just cross fingers and hope the internet doesn't continue to do whatever it's doing. And there's nothing going on in the other house where my daughter lives. All they have on is a TV. They don't even have internet on. You know, they're not doing any streaming or anything. So it's just craziness. You know, I never can get a good answer for this. So anyway, here we are. And he says, that's probably true. Some weirdness as usual. Yeah, you know, it always seems to continue. Things just don't get totally easier, you know. But anyway, welcome to the Hangout tonight. And there are some new people here. Yay. We have a new Kathleen here. That's fantastic. So hi, Michelle, and hi, Kathleen, and Florence, and that's who else is there, Annie and Martin. And if you watching this right now and you say, gee, I wish I could go to those Hangouts. Why don't I know about them? Go below, click on Patreon, and you can join Patreon and you can join the Hangouts. And you can also come to the live part of my videos. Open to the public all the time. All my stuff is open to the public, but if you want to participate in the live stuff and the Hangouts and the phone-ins, then there's different levels for that. That keeps a nice community without a whole lot of troublemakers. So, and by the way, if you were trying to get to my phone in and you saw my technical problems on that, I've had my third Amazon delivery. No, the third one's coming on tomorrow. And I'm going to try to put everything together. And if I actually get it together and it actually works, I'm going to test it. I'm going to do a Tuesday phone in because that has been a really real fun thing, trying to put together a phone in studio. So yeah. So anyway, let's get on with some interesting things. Before I do some of the ones I said I was going to do, there's stuff going on in Denver, Colorado. So if you live there, you know, I don't know what's going on in your town, but this one woman, she had a terrifying start to Valentine's Day after she woke up to a strange man sleeping on her couch. Apparently, this guy tried to get into a whole bunch of homes in Denver because they got these cameras out and everybody's home. And this guy tried to get in this home and that home. And she said she got up in the morning to go get her coffee and her dog was like barking a lot. And she thought the mailman was coming, or Amazon maybe, you know. And so she wasn't worried till she went around the corner and found this man lying on her couch. And she's like, why is a man lying on my couch? And apparently he had like cuts all over his head, and blood was on her couch, and there was grass in his hair. So she was like, who is this guy? So he had his hood up and he was like sleeping. She didn't call the police, which might have been a wise idea. So if you wake up and find a strange man on your couch, this woman started a conversation with him. And I get that she wanted to like be nice. Yeah, this is the problem with women sometimes. Oh, I didn't want to be mean to him. I didn't want to accuse him of anything. Hey, lady, he's sleeping on your couch in your living room, uninvited and bleeding. I think you have the right to, A, call the police first. Like, go around the corner, call the police, say, look, there's a strange dude sleeping on my couch. I don't know if he has any weapons. I don't know who he is. He somehow got into my house. He's just sleeping on my couch, but he's got blood on him and looks, I don't know whether he was drunk or on drugs and got into my house. But I'm going to stay around the corner till you show up. So I have some level of safety, you know, as far as approaching this man. But she didn't do that. So she goes and stands at the edge of the couch and she says, what are you doing in my house? Okay? Not a wise move, lady. That's when the man sat up and said, I have no idea. My apologies. Because he wasn't trying to hurt her. He really did just, I don't know what happened to his brain. She said that she saw blood on her white pillows. She could see lacerations all across his forehead, and he had grass in his hair like he'd fallen down, and it had surprised him. And then the man put his head to his forehead and said, "Oh man, what happened to me, man?" So he seemed disoriented and confused and refused to leave despite being asked multiple times. Lady, that's why you call the police first. Okay. And I'm guessing your little barky dog was like this big. So it was like useless. You'd have to throw your dog at him to get any kind of use out of the dog. So anyway, he wasn't going anywhere. So I walked to the front door, opened the front door, and said, "You have to leave now." And it was at that point he made it to the door and left. She said she had forgotten to lock the door after taking her dog outside, which is how the strange man got into her home. So if you're in a location where people can access your home pretty easily, lock the door. Just be sure you do that. And also, now she's going, okay, now I'm going to lock my door and be sure I have a security system here. Anyway, the Denver police are investigating the incident to find out who the dude was who wandered into her house. I just thought that was funny. But Denver gets weirder, so I have to bring this one up. So what else happens in Denver? A box of human heads were stolen. Human heads. Someone broke into a park truck in broad daylight and stole a box of human remains, which were a whole bunch of human heads. So there's some dude out there who has, how many heads does this guy have? There are a box of human heads. How many were in there? Oh, I thought they told us how many heads were in there. But they haven't found out who broke into the truck and stole the human heads, or how many human heads somebody's running around with. And I'm kind of guessing it's probably some druggie who thought he could break in and get drugs. And when he gets home and opens up the box, he's like, "Damn it, that's not what I wanted." Ah, crap. I would like to be a fly on the wall to see the guy opening up this stuff and finding a whole pile of human heads. I just think that would be great. And he says, hey, a headhunter. Did he even know? But yeah, he could have been a headhunter. What did Martin say on the last one? Oh, she wouldn't last 5 minutes in a slasher flick. Yeah, the last one. This woman, don't look in the basement. Don't go down there. Don't see a guy bleeding on your sofa and go up and go, "Hey, what you doing here?" Not bright. So yeah, she would have been the first girl murdered in a slasher flick. What did I say? Flick. That was just my funny things for the day. I came up with those after I put what the show is going to be about, and I thought those are really interesting. Okay, they made me laugh. So I like laughing once in a while, Okay, let me find out what I was actually going to talk about. Oh, so before I go further, before I forget, because this was a very good question that was asked. Michelle asked, "Have you looked into Taylor?" What? What's a Schwabinus case? It looks pretty straightforward. Schwabinus? Is that? I can't believe that's actually her name. So, is there another name for Taylor? I'll take a picture of it temporarily, and so I have not heard of this, but we shall see. But there was a question from Florence, which I thought was a good question. And one thing I do with all Hangouts is say, if you have a question, send it along or just ask me, because this is the point of a Hangout. I have lots of things to talk about as far as the news and interesting stuff, but you all have sometimes interesting questions. Florence says, "Hi everyone, question for Pat. What do you make of someone using 2 different weapons, say a hammer and a knife? Does it indicate 2 perpetrators? Would it be rare to see it in a hitman situation?" Okay, 2 different questions there. Here's what happens. There's a guy, and I'm going to blank on his name, but I'm going to do a show on him one day under my serial killer list. I'm going to have a playlist for serial killers and what's unique about them and about the investigations and what should have been done. Specifically interesting things, not just their whole life and how weird they were. But there was this guy, and I ended up doing a study on him, and it was fascinating because it told me and helped me understand that serial killers, this was like 20 years ago, when I was first becoming a profiler and studying all kinds of different aspects of serial homicide. There was this guy. He used every weapon in the book. He started out by shooting through women's windows with like a rifle. And then he went to attacking women on the street with a wrench. And then he went to stabbing people. And then he went through like every weapon possible. And the last time they caught him, he actually abducted women and tied them up in his house. And they finally caught the guy. And but he'd like used like 5 different weapons and 5 different MOs, which is modus operandi or method of operation. So if you're looking at a serial killer, number of homicides, and you're saying, did this guy commit all 5 of these or all 10 of these? That guy, you would have thought none of those were connected, and yet all of them were. So yes, serial killers have been known to change weapons quite often. So generally speaking, what happens is this. A lot of times a serial killer will have a fantasy about what his thrill is. You might like to fish in lakes, you might like to fish in rivers, you might like to fish in the ocean. You might like to do all 3, but a lot of people have a preference. So serial killers they're not like fishermen, but they're like that in their choice of hobby. They're like, I like to crawl in women's windows and choke them in their beds. That works for me. Other guys want to jump out on a walking path or a bike path and attack a jogger and strangle her or hit her over the head with a rock. Others like to abduct and then keep them in their basement and then do things to them. And some, like David Berkowitz, son of Sam, just like to shoot people. And as he told one lady, I'm not going to rape you. Don't worry about it. I'm not going to rape you. I'm only going to kill you. Thanks, Dave. So he shot people, and he liked to get couples. And I don't know what his issue was, but that was what he liked to do. So yes, serial killers may have one method of operation, one MO. They just do every time they strangle, every time they stab, every time they shoot. That may be true. And then you get the ones who just switch it up. They switch it up for a number of reasons. One is simply because they're one of those people that gets bored easily and likes to try something new. Then you got the guy who's like, I went to strangle the woman, and that woman scratched the crap out of my face. I didn't like that. So the next time I decided I would hit her over the head with a rock. Or I went and stabbed that woman, but dang it, I ended up cutting myself. I'm not doing that again. I'm going to strangle her so I don't get cuts on my body. So they may change because it's more convenient, because it's going to leave less evidence, because it didn't go well last time with whatever weapon they chose. Now to your second question, you asked about would a hitman use such different methodologies. In general, and it's really hard to say. Generally, when you hire a hitman, what he wants to do is use a methodology that is very quick, most of the time. And usually that comes down to using just shooting them, because that is the easiest way to get rid of somebody. You buy, you get a gun that's, you bought on the street, it's not, it has no, you didn't go to Walmart and pick it up or go to a gun shop and put your name down there. You got a hot gun. And then you go and you hide outside the person's house or in an alley. And as they walk by, you go, poof, they drop. The police come. They have no freaking clue who did it. The gun doesn't go back to anybody. Hey, good methodology. Now, that's one kind. And of course, if you watch enough mafia shows, it's never that pretty. A lot of hits are things like, piano wire around the neck. Some of those are done that way for effect, that it's so grotesque that it sends a message to somebody. So when you get that kind of crime, it's usually because of the message. You just want to get rid of somebody, like let's say some dude, just wants to get rid of his girlfriend who's pregnant, and he hires somebody. Usually they just come in and shoot him, usually. Because it's the easiest way, and there's no message to be sent. The guy just wants that person out of his life. If it's more of a gang thing, you might have a more interesting. Well, gangs usually just shoot everybody down too. But if it's a message being sent, it might be more unique. You could theorize that on occasion, somebody could use simple weapons like a hammer or something like that as a method of making it look like something else and not a hit. Can that happen? Yes, it can. I'm not sure where your question is coming from. I know that I did a video on Missy Beavers, the woman she was an exercise instructor, and she went to the church and she got brutally murdered in the church. And a lot of people think she was targeted by some hitman, and none of the crime scene points to that at all. It points to somebody interrupted doing something else. She was not the target, but a lot of people are saying, oh yes, she was. So I don't know if that's where your question comes from, but fairly rare that hitman would use these kind of things. It's, not the best. You have to get too close. It's too much work. It's easier to kill them some other way. But you can never say never, and so it has to be specific cases that you're looking at to say, is there any reason a hitman would be hired to commit these crimes? Is there anything linked? Or would this just be a serial killer? Or just 3 different crimes? As a matter of fact, here's another problem. You find 3 crimes. You find 3, let's say within a year, you find 3 naked women in bushes around town, within a 5-mile area, and everyone has been strangled. Is that a serial killer? Or is it 3 different serial killers? Because strangling is so popular. Or is it two serial killers? One did 2 and one did 1. Don't know. And if anybody says they do know, they're talking trash. We don't know. We have absolutely no idea because it's very popular. Killing people, there's only a few good ways to do it. And so generally speaking, you're talking about a gun, a knife, strangling. Occasionally bludgeoning. Bludgeoning can work their way in there. Piano wires are fairly rare. Unique methods of poisoning and stuff, that's fairly rare. But generally speaking, there's only so many easy ways to kill a person. So if you got a bunch of serial killers running around, they're going to use the same ways. So your best way of determining whether a serial killer is in the area is simply by, if a stranger is raped and murdered, somebody who's clearly not the boyfriend or husband staging a crime, it's a serial killer. The question is, has he done others? And you look at the location and try to find out by going to the public, do they know anybody who was in the area at that time who could have committed this crime? Some psychopath that they know that was around. And if they used like a certain type of weapon, a knife or a gun, tell the public what the weapon was so they can say, it's my cousin Ernie, but it's a little more tricky than sometimes we'd like to see on TV. So, yeah. So that's the answer to that question. I hope that helps, and it was a great question. So thank you. Now, one of the things I was going to talk about today was the theater, Curtis Reeves. Somebody asked me to do a thing on Curtis Reeves, and I've been just trying to decide whether I want to do a full show or not. But I'm going to just run ahead with one of the concepts. So what happened was this retired Florida police captain was standing trial for killing a man in an argument about texting in a movie theater. Okay? This was 8 years ago, so I'm not sure what the 8-year wait was, but, he's an older man, so he had 8 years of a good life, and then now he's fine. He could have been convicted. He wasn't. He was found not guilty, which really threw a lot of people. Let me re-explain this to you, or explain it for the first time. A 79-year-old man is finally standing trial this week, 8 years after he fatally shot a man who was texting in a Florida movie theater. Opening statements began, this is before he was found convicted, but I just want to bring you to the beginning of it. He pleaded not guilty to second-degree murder and aggravated battery in the killing of Chad Olson in January of 2014. Now, the case got a lot of attention because the defendant's defense was a self-defense claim under stand your ground law, which I'm not opposed to. However, there's other issues. So anyway, it came to trial, and they showed this video of what happened between the 2 men. And there's also a nice video of him explaining his point of view when he's on the stand. So here's the problem that I ran into. All right. You have the right in many states, especially in Florida where the stand your ground, that if somebody is attacking you and you fear for your life, you have the right to defend yourself. And not have to say, let's see what happens. Maybe he's not going to hurt me. Maybe he's not going to kill me. You have the right to defend yourself because of the belief that you are standing your ground, that they're coming into your home, they're coming into your car, they're doing something to come into your space and harm you. However, in this particular case, this is basically what happened. Let me kind of give you this rundown. Okay, so Curtis, he's the shooter, the retired cop. So he and the guy is named Olson. Uh, yes, Olson, that's the guy's name. So Reeves is the guy that was doing the shooting. That's the retired cop who was 79 at trial, so 8 years. He was 71 at the time. And age can have an important issue with that as well as, and I'm going to talk about a thing called disparity of force. Okay, so they're in the theater, and Reeves is sitting here, and Olson's over there, like with his wife. And during the advertisements and the crap before the show, he starts texting, supposedly about the babysitter for the kids. And Reeves is sitting here, and the light of that phone is whacking him in the face, and he's getting annoyed. Okay, I agree. I've had people sitting in front of me and they're texting away, and I'm like, dude, stop doing that. Now, during the advertisements, I think, don't make a big deal of it during ads because it's all crap. Then when you get to the trailers, it goes to another level. Some people love the trailers and they don't want to be distracted during the trailers. Then when you get to the film, that is the top level. Then I'm like, hey, that's not okay. Now, apparently Reeves got really annoyed with this guy texting, and he leaned over and said, could you please stop doing that? And Reeves basically told him to F off, which is not really appropriate. You are in the theater. It's already said, no, don't be texting in the theater. He is doing something that annoys somebody else. To say F off is absolutely rude and uncalled for. Once that guy said that, he should have said, oh, excuse me, sir. He should have got his butt out of the seat, walked out of the theater, and for God's sake, stand in the hallway and do all your texting. I have done that I don't know how many times. I've had a phone call come in, and I know I have to take it, and I leave the theater and take the phone call someplace else. I don't sit in the theater and do that. And he was asked not to do it. And Reeves had a right to ask him not to do that because it was inappropriate, and his response was terrible. He basically said, he was very rude to the man, basically told him to go screw himself, and was loud about it too. So now this guy's upset. He claims he wasn't, which was, I had to say, it was a pack of lies. He shouldn't have said that as a defense. No, I wasn't upset. Yeah, you were. He left the theater at that point and went out and told the management, hey, this dude's like acting like a fool and texting and it's annoying me. And the management said they would come and take care of it. Now, that is a management's responsibility. A lot of times they don't follow through, but the management should come in and say to the dude, you have to stop doing that or you need to leave the theater. But anyway, Reeves went back and sat down, and apparently he complained again because I guess management was slow, and he complained again because now they were to the trailers and he was getting annoyed and said, please, can you put that away? And then this guy got nasty and said, screw you, blah, blah, blah. And at some point, the guy got up. The texter got up, turned toward Reeves, who was sitting. And there's two stories on this. He leaned over, grabbed the popcorn from Reeves, and then chucked it at him. And the other story said he also threw his phone. I found that a little weird just because, I like my phone. I'm not usually going to throw my phone. But hey, maybe the guy didn't care and he wanted to hit the guy in the head. Reeves said he felt something hit him in the head. And at that point, he felt threatened. He felt it was an assault. The guy was big. He was looming over him. And he pulled his gun and shot him. And that guy died. All right. So, interesting problem. All right. So, the question is, and the jury found him innocent. Or not guilty, not innocent, but not guilty. I haven't gone into a very, very deep look at this case. But I just want to explain the basic issue I see. And I don't know. Well, I have to look at it further, and I'll do a whole video on it if I think there's more to say. Disparity of force is the question. You have the right to defend yourself. Stand your own ground. I'm okay with that. Now, what is disparity of force? Because this is always important in a self-defense case. Let me pull up the actual explanation so I can read it to you. Where did it go? Here we go. Okay, disparity of force. Now, the core of self-defense, the core of it, and this is why it's important, is the use of reasonable force under the circumstances. Okay, let's look at reasonable, all right? And that's why the question of proportionality is key, all right? If you face a threat of attack or an attack, the law expects you to act reasonably. If the retired cop was in an alley walking from a restaurant to his car, and a big, huge guy came in front of him and threw his phone at his head, lunged at him and threw a phone at his head, I would say, because the guy's big and you're small, he's young, you're old, he's attacking, you're not, pulling out your gun and shooting him in the alley might be quite appropriate. Because as far as you know, if you didn't do that, that big guy would attack you in 3 seconds flat and kill you. He'd punch you in the face, maul you to death, and you'd be dead. But he's in a movie theater. And you have to wonder, yeah, was it okay for the guy to grab your popcorn, pull it, throw it in your face, and maybe throw your phone? No. Was the guy bigger? Yes. Were you sitting down in a position that's hard to defend? You might be. Are you 71 and he's young? Yes. But do you really, truly believe this guy was going to beat you to death, kill you in the movie theater with people around you? Did you truly believe that? And that's the crux of this case. So, yes, size and strength disparity is important. If you're a 100-pound, 65-year-old woman facing a 200-pound, 20-year-old man threatening rape or robbery, then you can say you should be able to fight back. A single attacker, a single person versus multiple attackers. If you have a gang of people, let's say you were in a theater in a kind of a rough neighborhood. And I have been in those places. So you're sitting there and you're the only person in the theater. And then in come 5 people from MS-13. And they're sitting there and they get mad at you. And 5 MS-13 people get up and come towards you. Even though you're in a theater, you might be dead in the theater. So you have a reason to think, oh my God, they're the dangerous type people and there's 5 of them and I'm here and nobody's here to save my butt. That's a problem. This guy was not in that situation. He was in a normal theater. There are people right next to him. That he really was going to get killed is pretty unlikely. So the matter of perspective. So in a criminal case, you got to look at the point of view of the defendant. So is that defendant's acts reasonable under the circumstances at the time? So you got to look at it from his point of view. Did he really actually truly fear imminent death or severe damage to himself? Did he think in 1 second that guy was going to punch him in the face, and one punch to a 71-year-old man in the face can be deadly? It can. Did he truly believe that this guy was going to come over that seat and start pummeling him and kill him, or put him in the hospital forever, cause brain damage? He's 71. And that is what the case was about. And I'm gonna look at more of his thinking and whether he thought that was truly going to happen, or whether he thought, there's people, or whether he should have thought the guy's a jackass, total jackass. But there's people around me. I doubt he's really going to jump over the seat and hit me. Even though he's being a total jackass at this point. It's like, hey, is that really going to happen, or is he just one of these really obnoxious, loud guys that, I don't feel overly sorry for the guy who threw the popcorn, possibly the phone, and called him all kinds of names because he started the whole dang thing by being rude and not recognizing that he was being rude and deciding he had the right to do whatever he wanted when he didn't have that right. So, you kind of started your own problem. Whether you should have been shot is another whole point. And I have to look very heavily into this because it really truly is. Did he think he was going to possibly be killed or suffer severe damage if he didn't do something? He may have thought that. He might have thought, one punch to the face, I'm done. The guy's big. Because you ever watched boxing? You ever watch sometimes a situation where you got a big guy and you got a little guy, one punch, and that guy's on a stretcher going to the hospital and into a grave. It happens. Let me see what you have to think here. So Kathleen says, I think the right decision was made after I saw the video evidence. But I hope others learn from this and learn to pick their battles wisely and don't let tempers dictate their actions. That's very wise. I mean, hold on a second. Hold on a second. I want to respond to Kathleen. Yes. I say the guy who was texting, quite frankly, started it. But on the other hand, the cop kind of made it worse. He should, in my opinion, I've been annoyed like crap by people doing this. But I always wait till the movie actually starts, because unless the movie is really started, that you're on texting being obnoxious is not a big deal. Once the movie starts, then you have no right to be doing it. Then I get upset. Then I will say something to you, and I will immediately go get management. Next thing, if the guy's texting during the movie and won't stop, and I go out to get management, guess what the smart thing to do is? You don't come back without management. You wait until the manager brings you back. And if he takes too damn long, you know what you say? I want 2 free tickets. I want my money back. I want to go to a later show. Give me free tickets. And they will do that. Just a hint here, just so you know. If you don't like that movie within the first 30 minutes, you can walk out of the theater, go straight to management and say, that movie sucks. And they will give you your money back, or give you a free ticket, or they'll let you go to another movie. A lot of people think they have to sit there and suffer through crappy movies. One night I walked out of 2 different movies. I walked out of the first one and went to the management and said, I can't do that. I said, can I go see another movie? And they said, okay, well, which one? I said, well, I'll try that one. I came out another 20 minutes later and I said, I can't do that movie. That one sucked too. And then I went to a third movie and I finally stayed. But I have gotten my money back. I've gotten free tickets, and I've gone to other movies. So remember that when you're going to a complex that has more than one movie, or even one movie, you just hate it, they'll give you your money back. Don't ever think that you just have to sit there and suffer and lose your cash. No, you don't. So that's just an aside. So you can save money. Okay. Let's see what Kay says. Kathleen. Okay. It seems like an overreaction. Was he truly threatened, or did he just get mad? That's a problem with guns. Well, that's not the problem with guns. That's the problem with people who have any kind of weapon, and any kind of temper, and any kind of, maybe an inability to choose a better route to dealing with a problem. I think both the men did the wrong thing, in the sense of not necessarily the final thing, which is, I say I haven't quite figured out where that should have ended up. The texter dude shouldn't have texted. That was wrong. He also got nasty toward a guy who just simply asked him to stop. That was wrong. The cop, on the other hand, should have left the theater and not returned without management. He should not have gone and complained twice, and that kind of thing. So everybody escalated everything. So both men, I think, were wrong in that. The problem comes down to, when it comes down to the actual trial, is no matter who's wrong up to the point, then you come down to the actual question. Was it self-defense, or was it just rage? And there wasn't justification for pulling the trigger. That's what it comes down to. Manager is so young he will hide in the popcorn maker. and boy, are you correct about that stuff. It is often very difficult to get management to come in and deal with anything in a movie theater. They don't want to get involved because they're scared of the patrons. They are. They're scared of them, because some of them get really nasty toward the management too. So it's really good to go to an early show when you're like only person in the theater. Works really good. Okay. Guns allow easy lethal force. Okay, I'm going to say right here, I'm not going to get into a gun argument. I refuse to do that. This is not a political channel. I don't want to get into a gun argument. Okay? The point being that we have the right by law to defend ourselves with whatever object we have. Fists, guns, knives, whatever you got. If you are truly in doing self-defense. Truly, you have to be doing self-defense. And it's very true that in many countries that don't have as many guns, people stab the living crap out of each other. So I don't want to do arguments over weapons. The point being that you have a legal right to self-defense, but you have to have the absolute right to that self-defense. That's my point about the disparity thing. Because, you can't just say, I felt threatened because Pat Brown, I went to a bar and this 90-pound chick who had too much to drink came up to me, and she threw her plastic cup at me. So I shot her. She threw a plastic cup at me, so I picked up a chair and smashed her over the head. Now, if she takes a beer bottle and smashes it on the back of a chair and comes up with jagged edges and comes at me with jagged edges, I have the right to do that woman in, because the next thing that jagged edge is going to do is cut me right through the throat and I will die. So if she smashes a bottle and comes at me with the broken bottle edges, I have the right to self-defense. But if she comes after me with a hamburger and wants to smash a hamburger into my face and make me mucky, that's not that. I wasn't in fear of my life. I didn't think I was going to die or end up in a wheelchair because she smashed a icky hamburger in my face. It wasn't nice, but I'm not in fear of my life. That is what you have to do if you're going to take the self-defense route. You better dang well be sure it was true self-defense, or you end up in jail, and you should. You should end up there. If you take somebody's life when it wasn't clear it was self-defense, you end up in prison. So there we go. So anyway, all right. So let's go on to something else. But I thought that was fascinating because that disparity of force is an issue many, many times in these kind of things. Now, I was also going to talk about, oh, wait a minute, low battery. Let me plug my phone in. Let me plug this in. Okay. Oh, I still have an internet. I'm amazed. I really thought that internet was going to go away. All right, I wanted to talk also about, this guy, this Chad Isaak. This is a really weird case, and I haven't done a strong, I tried to find information on it, but man, I was having trouble finding any information on it. And you know why? Because there doesn't seem to be much information. But here is this guy. This is the guy who went in and killed 4 people. 4 people. Okay, let's not come up after I clicked on that. Hold on a second. Okay, we decided to come. Okay. Oh no, that's the wrong one. Sorry, I don't want biomorph. Not today. I want Chad. Chad, where'd you go, Chad? Maybe this is it. Okay. No, that's not it either. Wrong one. Hold on one second. Okay, it's here somewhere. Where'd it go? Oh, Chad, come here. Chad. Okay, hold on one second. Let me put Chad in here, because I want to at least read to you what the heck this guy's name. This is really interesting because it's a matter of motive, and okay. So this here he is, Chad Isaak. Okay, so what happened was this happened in Bismarck, North Dakota. This guy was sentenced to life in prison without parole for these murders. Now what happened was this. He was convicted of killing 4 of these people who worked at RJR maintenance and management employees. Prosecutors said he planned to carry out the crimes, fatally shooting 3 of the victims and stabbing the 4 victims more than 100 times in the early morning hours of April 1st, 2019, before he traveled back to his home in Washburn, North Dakota. He's a former Navy medic, and the prosecutors suggested that he had the ability to commit the crime, which I don't know what the heck that has to do with anything. But anyway, they did not present a clear motive for him during the trial. Now, you are not required, but the prosecution is not required to have a motive for the guy. It helps to get the jury to convict. But, if you got enough proof, and they apparently had a lot of proof, they had him, they had the vehicle stuff, they had vehicle cameras and everything. So there was a lot to put him in there. He said afterwards, he said, I can honestly tell you, and usually when they say honestly, that usually means they're lying, tell you I'm not a murderer. All right. So, but they asked people, why did he do this? And, generally speaking, you would think you'd have a clue. He was also he's a chiropractor too. But supposedly he was also caught on the camera surveillance traveling to and from the place. So, but they asked the people in the place, do you have any clue why this guy would want to do this to you? And nobody had a clue at all. So it's like, why? And apparently they did, they were, I think the company itself owned like the property he lived on or something like that. But it was very vague, and he never made phone calls like yelling at him. Usually when you have something happen, somebody is connected either they work there, or they're a friend, or they're a customer who's very angry and they've just called in like 10 times saying, why don't you give me my money back? I'm going to get you. They have nothing. They don't know why this guy had any reason to go in there and kill 4 people. I don't know. I have no idea why he killed 4 people. And I'm going to investigate this a little longer, but this is very unique because usually at least you have a clue, why that person did it. Either they were, an employee who got fired and they just came back and killed everybody there. Something. They don't seem to know. They just don't know. And so I'm going to do a lot of research into this. I can't come up with much. Basically, the research so far just shows me dude went there, killed everybody, went home. No good reason. So what? What? No, I don't see it right up front. And it is really rare. I can't even remember a case where I didn't have a clue why the person wanted to commit a murder like that of a whole bunch of people in one particular place. Either a family murder or a business murder. Sometimes you'll just get a mass murderer who goes into a school and tries to take out as many as he can. But this wasn't that kind of thing. It wasn't like he wanted to see how many he could get. He just wanted to get those 4 people. But nobody knows who he is or why he'd do it. How odd is that? So I don't know. I honestly do not know. So yeah, I thought that was a really interesting one. I'm going to look into it, but why? What was it? What is this issue? Okay. I want to talk one thing about Zelle. There was this little thing that came up. This is a good warning to you guys about frauds on the internet. This was a Zelle fraud, which has also gone missing. Oh, wait. I gotta do this one first because this one just came up. Black Panther director Ryan Coogler was mistaken for a bank robber and arrested after passing it. He wasn't arrested. They did put some handcuffs on him. After passing a note to a pregnant Bank of America cashier asking them to withdraw $12,000 from his account and count it discreetly. So anyway, there's a picture of this. Let me see if I can find a picture of the guy coming up here. So anyway, let me pull it up here and do my non-fancy YouTube stuff So anyway, here he is. So he goes into the bank and he's got a mask because everybody has a mask on, at least up until now. And he's got a hat and he's got sunglasses and he passes this note. And the note says, it's written like this: I would like to withdraw $12,000 cash from my checking account. Please do the money counting somewhere else I'd like it to be discreet. Well, it spooked the cashier who thought, oh my God, this guy's trying to rob the bank because it's such a weird request. He wasn't just in a mask. He also had the sunglasses and the cap. So he looked like he was trying to hide his identity, passing this weird note. And she's like, what? So she got confused. By the way, this is not a racial thing. He's black, so is the cashier. But she freaked. And some people are going, well, why would she even freak out? Why would this bother her? Well, normally when you go, I know when you've got a lot of money, maybe $12,000 is like chump change. But usually when you're going to try to take that much money out of the account, you go in and you speak to the manager. Sometimes you even have to call ahead and say, look, I want to come in tomorrow. I'd like to get $12,000, and you might not have it in cash even in the bank. So I want to come in and get $12,000. You let them know, you come in, you talk to the manager, it's taken care of. You usually don't go up to the teller and slip a note in there and go, give me $12,000 and don't let anybody see you do it. It was weird. So the guy got upset. It's supposedly been settled. Bank of America has apologized. But hey, guys, sometimes your behavior freaks people out. And don't act in a way that freaks people out and then blame them for freaking them out. Because, that just, sometimes that happens. When you do weird things. He did weird things. Okay, so where's my Zelle thing? I thought that was, I'm like, dude, I know we all have masks on, but don't add to the costume, Zelle fraud. So Zelle, what's happening is Zelle, I don't know if how many people use this, but you send money through your bank through a thing called Zelle. Well, my battery's running low. I forgot to plug it in. I knew I was gonna. Here is the one thing I didn't do. Dang it all! There had to be one thing. Hold on. Where's my cord? Wait a minute. Where is it? Oh, that's that. I've got so many cords here. I got to figure out which one it is. Don't die on me before I get my cord. Now, how about this? It's underneath the books. It's somewhere here. Okay. Time is passing. I'm going to try to do this before everything goes to hell. Wait, I got to make noise. I got to drop stuff on the floor. Oh, great. It's not there either. Hold on one second. Aha! There's hope. How about this one? Oh, and I get my boobs in the camera. That'll be fun. Okay. Did that work? Oh, hi there. Darn it, I didn't get through without a disaster. There it went. There was a disaster. Oh, my God. Sorry about that. I was running around trying to get the thing. You know, I moved the computer over. I was trying so hard to get the internet not to crash, and I finally got that so achieved within like literally within 45 seconds of the show. I was so excited, I forgot to plug in the computer. So you see, I always have something that goes wrong. So anyway, there's this. Jenny says I'm hilarious. I may just be a mess. But I can't worry too much anymore. It's just like, I'm done with worrying. Okay. Okay, the Zelle scam is spreading across the U.S. Unsuspecting consumers are giving criminals access to their bank accounts. And this is basically what happened. So what happens is, one victim said that she had followed a scammer's instruction to transfer the money in her Zelle account to her bank account. However, she was first asked to change some of her account information. Well, it appeared the money was transferred into her account. The scammers were waiting to drain her account. So what happens is they ask you to do certain things. Oh, there's a problem. You need to put money here. They do this crap. And people fall for this. Hi, Lacey. You came in after my little escapade here. Okay. Okay, so here's just my warning because of the Zelle thing to everybody. Zelle. Fake Amazon things. I just got one in from Maryland, and they said, we have $8,000 waiting for you. Sometimes you get Amazon things that says somebody's gotten to your account. Please respond. We're gonna need to fix this. Anytime you see something come in by email or by telephone where they say you need to do something in response, you know what you do? You say, who is this? Or you look at it and say, it's Amazon. If you're that worried, here's the thing. You hang up immediately. Never is anything going to happen just like that. You hang up or you never respond. You never respond. What you do is this. There's two things. First, you can Google Amazon scam and they'll come up with the exact email that you just got. And you'll go, oh, see, it was a scam. Two, if you really aren't sure, you call the organization. You call your bank, you call Amazon, you call whomever it was that supposedly sent you that crap, and you ask them, do I owe money? Has my account been hacked? And they'll say, no, we never sent that. That's a scam. Never, ever respond right away because there's no reason you have to. But it throws panic into people when they see an email like, no, something has happened to your account. Or when you get a phone call, you have to do this. There's one that I get all the time from China. Which is actually in Chinese, so it doesn't scare me much, but it is a visa scam thing where they call up people who are on visas from China and they speak to them in Chinese and they say, there's a problem with your visa. You need to handle this right away or you're going to be deported from the country. And they go, oh my God, they don't know anything's wrong with their visa. So then they'll say something like, send some money or you have to give us this information. And they do. Instead of find out don't talk to those people, call whomever it is, your embassy or whatever, and say, look, I got this phone call, what does it mean? Never respond to the exact email or the phone call. Always call the company. If you can't Google and find out that you're just a bunch of junk, call the company. So that's my advice, because I've seen this happen too often, and it really, really bugs me. So don't fall for that. Yeah. Oh, yep, there you go. So, I have to work at call centers for Wells Fargo, Apple, and Capital One. People fall for stuff. It's sad. Yeah. Stop falling for stuff. I mean, it's just like, nothing is ever an emergency. I mean, except for this new one where people are calling up like grandmothers and they're telling them that their grandson has been kidnapped and they have to send money. Really weird stuff like that. especially if the grandchild's in another country, and like, let's say my son's in Mexico, and he's traveling there, and they say he's been kidnapped in Mexico, and I'm like, I can't get hold of him. And, oh my God, he's been kidnapped. But always go to your, then don't ever respond to the person, okay? Respond to the call the company, call the police, call your embassy. Never respond, never. And unfortunately, that doesn't seem to be getting, Molly, better late than never. Well, you can always go back and watch the beginning of the show. So there's lots of interesting things in this show, so you might want to go back. But happy to have you here, Molly. So yeah, it's just that's just my experience, is that never respond, and nothing is going to happen in 5 or 10 or 15 minutes, believe me. So even if it were true, nothing's that kind of emergency. You have time. Say, okay, I got an hour, 2 hours, 3 hours, I can figure this crap out, and spend some time figuring it out. Because so many of these come in, and they're not even like the Nigerian scams where, now it's the, the Nigerian scams where I lost my wallet, please can you send me money to help me survive. Then there's the Gambian scams, which the guys, they all come through Twitter, and they're like, hi, I'm from the Gambia, and here are my poor children, please send me money. And I'm like, block. I'm sure the rest of the Gambians aren't appreciative of these these scams, but these are ones that, like, make you feel bad. You do send them money, but if you want to send money to poor people, there are organizations which you can contact and work with to send money for children, to help children overseas, to help children get education, to help lots of poor people. You can go through organizations. You don't go through somebody on the internet who just emailed you. This is nonsense. So if you want to do charitable work, do it through something legitimate. And nothing is, again, an emergency. So don't fall for that crap. So anyway, that I just thought the Zelle thing was a new scam. I hadn't seen the Zelle one yet. So that is new. What I forgot to talk about last week was wait a minute. Hold on a second. I just lost my thing here. Is the Diagnostic Manual. Let me see where I put this one at. Hold on a second. Where'd it go? I've got if you saw what I'm doing here, if you saw all the equipment, and if you saw how many pages I have open on the internet, you'd see why I have these problems keeping up with everything I've opened up. Where's my DSM thing, which was here earlier, and now it's going to be missing. No, don't do this to me. That's so annoying. And for some reason, sometimes they just vanish, which is terribly upsetting. And where'd it go? Okay, hold on one second. Let me go back to, I'm just going to put in DSM and see if it comes out of DSM. Some change. Let me put in change and see if it comes up. But it was very interesting because they're making changes, significant changes to the diagnostic. It's called, in case, let me get the proper name for it. Oh, now they're protesting it. Okay, so this is the DSM. It's called the Diagnostic and Statistical Manual of Mental Disorders. But apparently some people want a lot of things changed, and there's all these protests now to the change. So you have this big fight going on in the psychology world. They have signatures on things. Don't change it, do change it, don't change it, do change it. So the problem comes into this, and I've always said this, the DSM has incredible number of labels for people's problems. So many, it's like craziness. I mean, it's just like almost everything. Like, I have a eyeglass fixation problem. That's in there somewhere. So people come in to get diagnosed, and sometimes they go through this manual and they try to come up with whatever diagnosis it is, especially if it's a school that's doing diagnosing, or a court that's doing diagnosing, or some institution. They come up with all these things. If you go to different psychologists and psychiatrists and ask them to diagnose the same person, this one comes up with these 5, this one comes up with 2, this one comes up with 1, this one comes up with 4 different ones, and you're like, which one is right? So the problem is they have this one, lowering of diagnostic thresholds. This one says that they've lowered things like attention deficit disorder. It used to be up here, and now it's down here. It's like before you had to like not be able to function, and now I have ADHD because I speak quickly and multitask, and I've been called. People have said must have ADHD, Pat. Not that I know of. It's just I am who I am. I do speak fast. I'm from New Jersey. I have a lot goes on in my head, but I've never been diagnosed that way. I can spend all day long reading a book. I can sit on the beach. I don't have problems like this. But if you lower the standards enough, now I got them. And some people are concerned about that. People are being overdiagnosed. Then they have this introduction of new disorders. So they have new disorders. My goodness. They're saying that what's happening was when you add on all these new disorders, then you have more reasons to give drugs, especially with seniors in nursing homes. Now you go, oh, see, now they've got one of these 10 disorders that we just added. Give them some medicine. That's a problem. Lack of empirical grounding for some proposals. So a lot of things that they're also put in DSM don't really have so much validity. This is not the actual article I was looking at. But there's a new article that's basically saying, should we dump? Should the DSM be dumped? Let me see if I can find. I'll put in dump because it makes me mad. I had this one set up and I thought it was really, really great. Let me see if it says dump. DS. No, I don't think that one's going to work. So oh, here it is. Oh, here it is. I found it. It's called Dump the DSM. Well, that's good. I mean, I didn't think that was going to pull it up, but it actually is called Dump the DSM. It's in the Psychiatric Times magazine. And it says, the American Psychiatric Association DSM diagnostic system has outlived its usefulness by about 2 decades. It should be abandoned, not revised. Its primary achievement was to force American psychiatrists to recognize that not all patients presenting with florid psychoses had schizophrenia. So in other words, there was this thing they used to do, which everybody had schizophrenia. Everybody had schizophrenia. So they were like, hey, they're not all psychotic. They have different issues. So they started adding in all these other things to keep this big, toss everybody into the old schizophrenia bin. More generally, it aimed to force the idea of operationally defined syndrome down the throat of a profession that was still in the 1970s dominated by the vague and archaic concepts of psychoanalysis at its 1950s worst. The goals have long been accomplished, and like the preceding analytic vagueness, it is time for the arbitrary, legalistic symptom checklists, and they are. The checklist is like, oh, if you have this and this and this, and oh, look, you have this, to go. So this is the thing. They want to get rid of this diagnostic system. They say it's a laughingstock. They have continual apologies to doctors, medical students, residents, judges that it's not working. People don't like it even inside psychiatric work. It's so intellectually incoherent, it raises eyebrows among the well-educated critical thinkers in our own psychotherapy clientele. So this person is saying they should get rid of the entire thing, just dump the DSM. And I have been railing against this for 20 years. And I'm not a psychologist. I'm not a psychiatrist. Okay, so maybe I should keep my damn mouth shut. But it's always bugged the living heck out of me because I've always found so much of it garbage. And what really bothers me is that, especially when you come down to institutions and you come down to criminal acts, a lot of times they don't even understand, for example, psychopathy. And they say, oh, that person's just, they got anger management problems. No, they don't. They're a psychopath. Anger is just the way they do it. And then they put them in the institution. They go to a few therapy sessions. They convince the therapist, the psychologist that they're fine. They get let back out. They commit more crimes. So I've always been bothered by an inability to understand the just humanness of people and what they are without putting a whole bunch of little teeny labels on them. And so I'm real thrilled about this little uprising. But, again, I am not a psychologist or a psychiatrist, so you can tell me to shut up, and you might be right. I don't know. I'd be curious to see what Dr. Grande has to say about that, because he's been in this field for a long time. I'm curious whether he likes the DSM or he doesn't like the DSM. I hope he does a show on that. That would be cool. Maybe I should write him. But I think it's really fascinating. Let's see. I think our kids are overdiagnosed for financial reasons. Interesting. Money for parents and money for doctors. Yeah, it's an interesting problem. Yeah, there's a lot of money to be made with overdiagnosing. Rather than saying, your kid's a brat. Could you just take him home and, not let them be that way? Oh no, he's got this, he's got that. Well, let's get him medicine. Let's put him in special programs. And it supports a whole thing. Now, are there children with certain difficulties? Well, yeah, but what are they? Like, I forgot about this one. Let me see if I can pull this one up. This is Florida. This was in Florida. Florida teacher was attacked by a 5-year-old and hospitalized. Check that out. She was attacked by a 5-year-old who hit her with a chair and then smashed her in the head. And she was in such bad condition they had to take her to the hospital. He weighed about 50 to 60 pounds, and he beat this young woman, teacher. And apparently, this is the third time he'd done it to the same teacher. And I'm like, why is this kid in your classroom? This kid is dangerous. And he's 5 years old. For people who don't believe this, I was working as a medical sign language interpreter at a hospital, children's hospital in D.C. And I was waiting in the hallroom. My client was actually a teenager who was like asleep in one room. This was like intake area. There were like 3 rooms. And there was this boy, I'm going to say he was 9 years old, sitting in another room. And he was doing a lot of signing, and I thought he was my client. And I said to the people when I came in, oh, is that my client? And they said, oh, no, he just doesn't, he's more autistic than he is. He's not deaf. He does a lot of signing. He's learned things like eat and things to help him. I'm like, okay. So I sat down. That kid left that area. They didn't have him locked in. They had the door open. He walked out and he attacked me. For no reason whatsoever. I was sitting there looking at I wasn't even ready for it. I was sitting there looking at my phone, and he just came over and attacked me. Threw himself on me with a punch. He just went on top of me. And I'm like, what? So anyway, the guard came in. Now the guard who was on the wrong side of me put the kid back in, and then didn't close the door. And I said to the guard, are you going to do something about this? He's like, oh, he's just ill. And then the kid came out and did it to me again. At which point the hospital started getting worried I was going to sue them. Yeah, but my question was, well, I don't know what the kid's problem was, but the problem was he was violent. I don't care what label you put on him. I don't care what label you put on this 5-year-old kid. He's violent. Focus on sometimes the behaviors and not spend so much time trying to give him all these different little labels. Because whatever label you give him, he's still violent. Then, once you deal with the violence part, you can go further. But some of this DSM has gotten to the point of ludicrousy. And yeah, so sometimes I think they're just let's see. We'll give you A, and we'll give you Z, and they have I forgot how many are even in there. It's insanity. It's insanity. There need to be guidelines, but not the DSM. Well, that is something the community needs to get together and try to understand what they need to do. A lot of times in my opinion, they're not talking about the root of the problem. They're talking about the behavior. Remember I talked about with Sherri Papini, which I'll end this thing on Sherri Papini because I said I'd talk about the new Sherri Papini stuff. She exhibits Munchausen syndrome. Well, at the DSM, they put Munchausen syndrome as a disorder. That's one of their labels. No, she doesn't have a disorder of Munchausen syndrome. Munchausen syndrome is simply a behavior of psychopathy. She's a psychopath who chooses to draw attention to herself. And that's what they call Munchausen syndrome. It's a way of expressing psychopathy. Let's say, for example, have you ever seen the movie Catch Me If You Can? Frank Abagnale, a young man who posed as doctor and a pilot and all kinds of things. He's a psychopath. He liked pretending to be different professions. I don't know that the DSM had a pretending to be different professions syndrome, but that's what he did. And he did that to, guess what? Could get power and control, mess people over, laugh at the fact they fell for it. He enjoyed doing that. There are people who are they like to lie a lot. They commit fraud. These are all behaviors, but they come from psychopathy. So I think what the DSM does, instead of focusing on the main issue of the personality, the problem, the narcissism, psychopathy, you at least tone it down. Let's say you say, oh, they have arachnophobia. They're afraid of spiders. Okay. They chose spiders. It's not just spiders. Spiders aren't the issue. It's just you have fears, and you picked spiders. You could have a different fear. You could have fear of dogs. You could have fear of, I don't know, dust bunnies under your bed. Those are fears. What the fear is your issue. What you're fearful of is really not the issue at all. And so you name 500 fears, it doesn't make any damn difference. It's the same damn thing. So I think, yes, we need to have an understanding of different things that cause problems in people's lives in the way they look at the world, and then the way they react to the world. The way you look at the world, the way you react to the world. For example, this just comes to mind because it always bothers me. The belief. It's a belief. A lot of these things are beliefs that people suffer from. I deserve to be loved. Who started that crap? Why do you deserve to be loved? What, because you breathe? I mean, nobody deserves to be loved. I don't know where that even comes from. You're a human being who comes into the world, and you've been given the gift of life. And from that point on, you have an opportunity to experience life, to do things, to get to choose what you want to do, and to see how those things work out, and then adjust what you choose to do based on the responses and how it's all working for you. Now, I'm not saying life is fair, and some people don't just get really screwed, but no one deserves anything except a chance, maybe. It's that's the way it is. So I deserve to be loved. Okay, what are you doing to have somebody want to be around you? That's your real problem. Your real problem is that you think too much of yourself. Maybe you're a narcissist. You think you deserve something you don't even have to do anything to get. No. Your behavior makes a big difference, whether I want to be around you or not. You don't deserve something like that. So a lot of times it's wrong thinking that's causing the problem of wrong behavior. So I do believe, yes, there's a lot to be done, but the DSM I've always thought was a crock of it. And that's just my little, a personal opinion from a profiling standpoint, but, not as a psychiatrist. So that's just a thought. Lisa says, big interest area. This is the number one question, Lisa. Are psychopaths something are you born a psychopath, or do you learn it? Because you mentioned that people are choosing their behavior. There's no good answer to this, because just like much of life, we don't understand a lot of things that happen. I don't understand why we have as many variations of flowers and trees and birdies. I don't understand that. I don't understand why some people get born in really crappy circumstances and some people get born with a silver spoon. I don't understand it. I don't know that we're meant to understand all those things. So we can have spiritual viewpoints on it, religious viewpoints on it, scientific viewpoints on it, but you come down to it, you're like laying there in bed at night going, I don't understand. Why? Why are we born? Why do we die? Why do we get, we don't know. So when it comes to psychopathy, the problem is we don't know. And anybody who tells you they know, they don't know. There has never been a proven chemical reason for psychopathy. It doesn't exist. So they trick the brains of psychopaths, and there's no proof that something is literally wrong in the brain. So in my opinion, this is what I've seen, and I can't, it's just an opinion. I believe that we're born into the world with some kind of personality. Now, I don't know why we're born with a certain kind of personality, but you know how when your baby's born, you got one baby that's all, and the other baby's like, you know, you're like, whoa, those kids are really different. You know, they're a different kind of people. They grow up being different kind of people, and you're like, I don't know where they got that from. Some people will believe everything is genetic, that you take a male whatever genes, you put them with the female genes, you mix the suckers together, and somehow when they all mix together, it comes up with this. And so then you're born with exactly this, and you have no control over that, predestined, that kind of thing, predestination. You're born with that personality, those interests, those abilities. You're stuck with that. Okay, that's one person's point of view. The other one is the old person's born a blank slate, and then they're written on. They come into the world absolutely with no personality or anything leading them anywhere. And then everything happens to them as environmental. In which case, that's not predestination, but that's completely like you got no control over anything. You are just, you're at the mercy of everybody else. Okay? Those are two very extremes. Then you have the mix. Somehow you come into life with something. Either some genetics. Some people who believe in reincarnation will say you've been in past lives, you bring your experiences with you, your personality comes with you. And then once you're here, for whatever reasons you come into life with something, then you interact with the environment. And sometimes you deal better with the environment, sometimes you don't. And if you were born into a different environment, would you have a different outcome? Is that true? And sometimes you have people in the same family who one becomes a serial killer and the other one's a social worker. It's like, what happened? But even in the same family, we're not treated the same. And we don't come into the world with the same personalities. So I would say, this is just my opinion, we come into the world with some level of personality or being or who we are. And I don't know why we come in with that, but I'm going to say we come in with it. And then we interact with our environment. So the better the environment is, the more likely our personality will somehow find a way. If we have a bad environment, if you have a really easygoing personality or somewhat positive personality, somehow you might survive it all and even gain from that, like the challenges. But if your personality is a certain way and you come into abusive home and all that stuff, all goes to hell. And that's the best I can do. And therefore, when we say, how do you fix it? Well, all I can say for fixing is we need to have the best home as possible for whatever person comes into it. Whether you come in with a blank slate, that some people believe, or you come in with something. The best home, good parents, a loving atmosphere, an understanding of personality differences, so we don't force everybody into the round one into the square hole, the square into the round hole. We have the best kind of loving situation we can for children. We have good communities. We don't have violent communities, war communities, hatred communities. We have good communities, good extended family. And then that child has the best chance. And that's all I can say. Because there's really not a good answer for that. And so, yeah, it's a shame. And I don't know why people sometimes end up the way they are. I don't. And I wish I do. Yeah, it's the nature versus nurture. That is the discussion. Some people believe there is no such thing as nature. Some believe there's no such thing as, I say it's either all nature or all nurture or a combo of both. I'll go with a combo of both because that seems most rational to me. Because myself personally, I found children seem to have their own personalities even as babies. So I think they come into the world with something, and then they end up where they end up, and they either grow, like a flower. A flower, when a flower comes in, you plant a seed, it comes in as a flower, but if you don't feed it properly, it dies, or it turns into a crappy looking flower, or it turns into a beautiful flower. So, it's the soil, what we put in it. So, a great answer. I don't know, Annie, that's just off the top of my head. It might be a kind of crap. What's this one? What about the theory of the warrior gene that activates big time with the use of alcohol? Let's see. I'm trying to remember if I have seen this somewhere. I think I remember reading about it, but I'm not sure I find it. I don't believe it exists. Alcohol, interestingly, affects people in different ways. It does. And again, these are choices we make. The same thing with drugs. Unless you've been assaulted, nobody puts drugs in you. You choose to do drugs. And before you choose the drug, you've already made a mental choice of why you think this is necessary. This is already an issue. Alcohol the same way. Why do you decide to do certain alcohol, certain types of alcohol? How much alcohol? At what point? Where? Whatever. So there's all these things that come into it. But when it come right down to it, as individuals, we have our reasons for making those choices. And they're, most of the time we're not forced, but we do decide they're worth something to us, even if they're dangerous. Maybe the experience, the excitement. Maybe we're depressed and think that'll get us out. Maybe we're very, very, very meek people, and that we think that'll give us some, bravery. We do a lot of stuff for a lot of stupid reasons. And sometimes those things, actually, sometimes people do certain things and it helps them. Even bad things help them. I've pointed out oftentimes that, the choice drug for authors would be cocaine, not alcohol, because alcohol puts you to sleep. Cocaine will make you type fast and think fast. So you do that. I do not do cocaine, just to let you know. Yeah, that's right. Some turn into weeds. Some are weeds. And the question is, Annie, if they're just born weeds or they're just weeds. And that would be that's kind of interesting, actually, because that's kind of like saying, well, maybe psychopaths are born and there's no nurture about it. It's all nature. They're born psychopaths. Nothing you can do about it except protect yourselves from them. Like they're born a snake, they're a snake, And again, there's no proof anyplace. But we do need to recognize snakes. Recognize that if they're a snake, they're a snake. At some point you gotta just to kind of figure it out. Well, let me do Sherri Papini before I forget. Sherri Papini. Let's see if I've lost the one on her. Where'd she go? There was new stuff that came out on her and what was happening in her life. Oh, and what was interesting to me. No, I lost that page too. What the heck? I'm just in a page losing mode. Okay, let me pull this up and go back to my. Go back to here. All right, I can find her somewhere here. I'm going back through all my page openings for the last God knows how long. But what happened was they were talking about how much money she cost everybody. One was that she cost the state over $200,000. So we're not talking something small at all. We're talking a big, huge fraud thing going on. Let me just see if I can pull it up through the news. And it was like, wow, this is why people have to stop thinking it's okay for these psychopaths like apparently this woman is. Where is it? Well, she got granted bail, which I don't think she should have been granted bail, but I guess they're figuring she's not going to flee maybe. But apparently when she came out of jail, she raced away. And I lost the one I had open that I wanted to talk from. Of course I did. She was released on a $120,000 bond with no GPS monitor. All right. And it says she had to post. Bail was set at $120,000, which she can come up with that because she took a lot of money from people, and she's been free for a long time. No GPS monitoring, but will have to turn in her passport. All right. It cost the public $230,000. Now I think it was like $30,000 of it was just the victims' compensation fund. There's a 55-page criminal complaint against her. Details how Papini and her husband. So good old Keith, who just, my wife is so beautiful and so perfect and a great mother and a great wife, and she didn't do anything wrong. They spent $11,000 of the $49,000 raised to bring her home. And apparently $11,000 was spent paying their own bills. That's fraud. Maybe Keith will go down with her. She's been charged with making false statements, mail fraud, and claiming more than $30,000 from the victim compensation thing. And there's another $150,000. Now this is what I'm hoping. If convicted, she faces up to 25 years in prison. 25 years. And $500,000 in fines. Now, I'm going to be really annoyed if she gets probation and a slap on the wrist. I'm going to be really annoyed. It says here, California mom Sherri Papini shrouding her shame in gray hoodie. I don't know if she's got any shame. She's a psychopath. She's probably just annoyed. Those people don't deserve to see me. I'm so cute. You know, I'm always looking in the camera over at my husband's shoulder. You know, he's looking at me going, oh, honey. And I'm always looking over the shoulder going at the camera. That's very interesting. Somebody pointed that out, and it's true. He's always looking adoringly, and she's always looking at the camera. So anyway, she was in a gray hoodie and a surgical mask. Well, yeah, okay. Made a frantic dash for her car on Tuesday following her release. All right, poor thing. Clutching a clear plastic bag with her shoelaces and paperwork, the 39-year-old blonde broke down in tears as she was hustled by friends and family into a car that whisked her away. Her family, remember back in the day, the mother said she had called the sheriff and said she was hurting herself and blaming us? Now the family seems to be coming out in support of her, saying, oh no, they're mistreating her. I'm like, are you actually, after all of this and the proof that's come out, are you actually backing her? You know, I'm sorry. Your loved one is a psychopath. Get away from her. She deserves none of your support. But yep, there she's got friends and family. All right. So anyway, oh, there she is. I see a picture of her now. All right. So she's trying to get away from the. This is the Daily Mail or the Daily Fail, depending on whether you like them or not. And the Daily Mail is actually a better news provider than the U.S. news media, which is amazing because it's UK. Go figure. Anyway, let me see what it says here. Any more here? Oh, she also got the $30,000 she got was also used for therapy for anxiety and PTSD, and the cost of the ambulance. Yes. Okay. Oh, they also told her she continued. This is what happened. So when she went missing. And, you know, we know the story. She told the authorities Hispanic women in masks kidnapped her and kept her in a closet. Yeah, sure. And chopped off her perfect little blonde hair. But I don't know. Can anybody answer this? When she said they chopped off her blonde hair, I didn't find her in like chopped off like to here. I didn't see her in really super short like a real like crew cut or the shaggy little hair up here. I saw her still with hair down to here. Did anybody see her? She originally had long hair, but did it just go up to here? Was it like some traumatic thing to have her hair cut like 1 foot and still have hair down to here? I didn't see her in little chopped off hair. Did anybody see that? I don't remember seeing that. Let me know. Meanwhile, while I'm waiting to see if anybody remembers that, prosecutors charged she was really at her boyfriend's house 600 miles away. She continued to lie to the FBI and the Shasta County Sheriff's Department when she was interviewed about the case, according to the charges. Federal and local law enforcement officers showed her evidence of her fabrication and warned that she would be breaking the law by lying to a federal agent, but she stuck to her kidnapping story. Yes, she did. Prosecutors said she cashed in on her lie, capping $30,000 from the California Victims Compensation Board, and then she got the other fraud charges on top of that. Oh, where is she? Oh. That's our little friends helping her out. You fools. You silly fools. All right. Oh, they're mad because they say the FBI conducted a ruse to get Papini out of the building where her kids were having a piano lesson. I don't care. If you're a criminal and you've done, okay, she's only an alleged criminal at this point. If you are being charged with what you're being charged with, I don't care that you're being gotten a ruse to get you away from your kids' piano lessons. Really. Now the California mom was told her vehicle was involved in an accident, and when she came outside, the feds grabbed her. She attempted to flee, but she didn't get very far, and admitted that the kids did see her get arrested. They were trying not to have her kids see her get arrested. They were actually trying to be nice, so she needs to stop complaining. During the arrest, Papini screamed, "No!" and attempted to run away. They also said she threw her cell phone. Well, maybe you do throw cell phones. Maybe she was in that. Maybe she was in the theater. She threw her cell phone 20 feet as she was being arrested. Oh, so she can't. She can't even get arrested properly because she's still got to whine about everything. So, local police say Keith was just as duped as his wife was. I don't know that he was totally duped. I think that he knows his wife has issues. He just doesn't want to admit it. I think that's what it comes down to. So the boyfriend, so basically, let's see what the sheriff said. He said that it's got to go to a grand jury. He says she didn't pull it off by herself. There are other people involved. He slammed Papini as a selfish narcissist who wasted precious police resources and needlessly frightened a community. It is a case of calculated deception, you betcha, driven by her narcissistic behavior, also known as psychopathy. It really had an impact on the community and nationwide. And she duped a whole bunch of people, except not everybody. She did not dupe everybody. But, yeah. Anybody remember the short hair? Maybe chopped was used for drama. Yeah, I thought it was only to hear. I mean, it's like, they chopped off my hair. Yeah, I think that's drama. But what's always interesting when certain female psychopaths do this Munchausen syndrome thing, they don't usually like to see their face messed up. And they do things which are like, oh, this was done to me, but it's not that bad. You know what I mean? It's somehow it's not that bad. Like, like you're not raped. Things like that. Now, there are people who will do incredibly terrible things to themselves. There are other people who will actually brutalize the living heck out of themselves. But a lot of times when you see this situation, you'll see they avoid hurting themselves in ways that would ruin, like they'll look in a bathing suit. Like she was supposedly had this what's that called? Branding on her shoulder, sort of. I didn't see where it was, and I don't know how small it was, but I'd just be wondering, say if you got this strap here, and you make sure that the branding is like underneath the strap, so that even if you wear a bathing suit, unless you're, like this, but then maybe the branding is not so bad. Maybe you're planning to put a cute little tattoo afterwards. So you're not doing something like branding the side of your damn face. Or putting something here which is going to forever wreck your looks, So I'm always a little suspicious when I see them. Terrible things happen, but they're not that terrible, So, why did she throw her cell? Just a fit. Yes, I think she never thought, Lisa, she would ever be arrested. I think she thought she was free and clear. Everybody was on her side. She'd gotten all her attention. She'd gotten money. It was all grand, and now she's been found out. Because of that DNA match in her boyfriend, they finally figured it out, and now she's done. And now she is going to go, hopefully, to prison. Prison, Sherri Papini, after what you did to the public. And I'm sure she is pissed. I'm sure she is. Oh, and he says, it was not short at all. That's what I thought, because I never remember seeing it so bad that I was like, oh wow, they really messed your hair up. I never remembered seeing that. And so I thought that was an exaggeration. Yes, she might have. The DNA part. Apparently they found DNA with her, but they didn't have anybody to match it to, and they finally matched it to an ex-boyfriend, and that's the one she was staying with. So, and that's what's finally, locked it in, that this was not strangers. So once it linked to him, they had her. So that was pretty cool. Anne says, if your husband or wife is a psychopath and you have children, it must be difficult to divorce because then the kids will be left alone due to courts and custody issues. That is one of the biggest problems. Because at least if you're stuck in the house with the psycho, and you can survive this psychopath, if they're not violent, for example, you can at least ameliorate some of the issues with that psycho and the kids. Like hopefully you can give more to your children, maybe be a bit of a barrier, make it so that their lives are acceptable in a way so they can survive that person. Unless that person is like, if it's a female and she's doing the Munchausen thing and she's hurting the children to get attention or killing them to get attention, then yeah, you don't want them in the house. But yes, this is a big, huge problem when you go for, you separate and you have to share the children, or you're trying to go for custody and you're trying to get that person away. Two things happen. And there's two sides of this, and I've seen it. And one is parental alienation, which one side will claim that the other side is telling that person phony stories to alienate the children from them. And sometimes the courts also believe those stories. So they'll say, oh my God, we can't let those children go back to that home, that other parent, because they're sexually abusing them. They're being mean to them. They're doing all these things to them. And they call it parental alienation. So the person is lying to get the other person to lose custody. On the other hand, what if that is really going on? What if the other person is actually doing things and you're trying to convince the courts they're doing things and you're not believed? Then let's say you have a every 2-week custody thing. So for 2 weeks your kids are with you, and for 2 weeks that you know your kids are back with that psycho. And that psycho is doing things to them and you can't stop them until something really goes wrong, and then it's too late. It's horrible. And it's really, it's bad and all the way around. Only thing I can ever say is, if you have the opportunity, never get pregnant with anybody or get anybody pregnant you do not absolutely want to be around. Because when that happens, I told my kids this. I was like, look, I told my boys this and I told my daughter this. I said, look, you get in a situation where you have a child with somebody that you didn't want to actually be with. In other words, they were just a hot date, right? As a matter of fact, you even liked them because they were just a hot date. You know what I'm saying? They're like, yeah, they're good in bed, but I wouldn't want to get stuck with them for like a boyfriend or girlfriend, right? So I just had sex with them. And then they get pregnant. And that person, or you get pregnant. Then you end up in a shared custody thing with a person you never even liked that much. And the reason you didn't even want to be with them was because they weren't that good. And that person is now your child's parent. And you're going to spend the rest of your life having to deal with custody with that person you don't like. And then that person you don't like, who you think is not that smart or has bad taste or bad behavior, now they're going to get somebody else in their life, and that is going to be another person in your kid's life that you're not going to like. So it all goes to hell. So I told my kids, don't do that. And then I said, when you get involved with anybody, if you're going to get into a situation where you're permanent situation, I said, if you're going to marry them, wait 2 years before you have a baby, just to be sure they're keepers, that you want this person to be the parent of your child. Don't just get married and get pregnant within a month, or get into a relationship, get pregnant in a month, or whatever you're going to do. And then you're like, this person's not really a keeper, and it's too late, So I've always said, slow down, folks. Do not have kids brought into a situation where you do not absolutely believe you're in a good situation. And that person is somebody you totally think is a great person. But, once you're in that situation, like, we're not perfect people, so we screw up, then, you're right. That custody issue is huge. And if that other person is truly a psychopath, everybody pays for that. Everybody. You pay, the kids pay. It's a mess. It's a freaking mess. That's all I can say. It's a mess. So, Annie says, the nice Latin ladies holding her gave her a nice haircut. Yeah. The nice Latin ladies, right, that for no reason whatsoever threw some bandanas on and took her off the street and just wanted to keep her in their house for whatever reason. It was a stupid story to begin with. Stupid. So I think I have covered all the things and some more that just came to mind during the week. So anyway, this Friday I'm going to be doing, what did I tell you I was going to be doing? It was Alyssa. I'm going to do the two women one that went into the tank on top of the hotel, ended up in a tank dead, and the other woman is an Australian case. This is my Friday night, 9 p.m. U.S. and 1 p.m. Australia, and she ended up going down a trash chute, and that is even more bizarre case. She ends up going down a trash chute and dying at the bottom of the trash chute. Very interesting cases, some really interesting issues with those cases. I'm going to do both of those cases because one is an easier case than the other, but I think they're really fascinating cases. And I believe on Sunday at 3 p.m., I'm going to do a bit on Cape Cod. Two cases there. They're both solved. They're both. It is the Worthington case and the Linda Silva case. Both women who were murdered on Cape Cod. And somebody has been convicted in each case. The Worthington case, Some people are saying it's not the guy didn't do it. He claims that. He claims he's innocent. And it was a real fascinating case, and they struggled a long time to figure it out. And they got this guy, and he's in prison forever. And then Linda Silva was another woman who was murdered. And for a long time, they thought these were connected cases, maybe the same person. But they did convict two different people. I worked on the Linda Silva case, and I will tell you right now, I am not sure they have the right person in prison for that case. I have real issues with the whole way the case was handled. I have issues with the prosecution. I have issues with the guy being found guilty. Not saying he couldn't have done it, but there was a lot of things pointing in another direction. Very contentious case. So I'm going to do those two cases on Sunday. So lots of fun. And I think what I'm going, yes, that is correct. That is the Cecil Hotel case is the Chinese Canadian girl who came down and ended up in that spot. Yeah. For those who want to do the phone in, here's what I think I'm going to do. Tomorrow, my rest of my equipment is coming for the third time, and I think I have everything right now. You wouldn't believe how many connections I have to make. I mean, electronic. Like the male goes to the female, but I didn't know there's so many male and female parts to things and how they have to go together. It's very sexual. But anyway, I've got all these connectors and stuff, trying to connect microphones and earphones and this machine I have to use. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a call-in next Tuesday at 7 p.m. That's what I'm going to do. Because next week, the Hangout's going to be Thursday. So I'm just going to do this on Tuesday. And by then, I'll have the equipment from at least Thursday or Friday. I'll have all weekend to figure it out. I'm not going to put any notice on it to your VIP guys. He says level 5 who wants to do the call-in. No, I'm not going to send any messages unless I'm absolutely sure this time you can actually call in. Oh my God, poor guys. I kept sending messages going, never mind. I'll try tomorrow. I got the stuff now. And the next day, never mind, it's the wrong stuff. Hansjuk, yeah, that's her name. I forgot her name. Can't wait to talk about Hansjuk. Oh my God, yeah. This is one very fascinating case. It's something else. Yeah, that's why people are still talking about it years later, because it is bizarre. So, yeah, lots to talk about for the Hansjuk case. I didn't know, I knew about the one in California, but I never knew about this one in Australia, and it's really fascinating. So, very excited myself about that. So, anyway, all right, so that's it for tonight. I'm going to go have a potato. Yeah, okay. That's my dinner tonight. I'm having a potato. Yeah. Somebody told me that, I say that I had these big cheeks the other night. I'm like, no, that's just fat, So, I'm going to try to get thinner cheeks. So, got to get rid of the coronavirus. Massive weight gain. Anyway, I'm going to go have a potato. And I will be back on Friday night at 9 p.m. for all my folks who, everybody here is obviously on the level to be able to come. So hopefully the other level 3 will join, and we'll have a really nice group again, because Sunday was great. Oh my God, it was so relaxing to have nice people in the chat room and not have to worry about all the cuckoos. Really, it was great. So definitely doing that again. So you're whoops! I just did something wrong here. Why I keep hitting things? You're welcome, Florence. I'm not going to get into the issues talk about this case, but the Hansjuk case. Here's what I want you to do though. The Hansjuk case, I already put up a thing about doing the show. Go ahead and comment there. I'm going to be interested in seeing all your comments before I do the show. I'm not going to comment myself there. I'm just going to sneak in once in a while and see what you're thinking. So I think that's going to be fun. Because it is a really bizarre case. So everybody's saying thank you, and thank you very much, and good night, everybody. And when you watch this, if you are not part of Patreon and you would like to be part of the live part of the show, the hangouts and the things where people come into the chat rooms, please join Patreon. It's linked below. And that was lots of stuff to talk about tonight. It's just crazy. So anyway, I will see you all on Friday. Hope I will definitely be there if nothing goes wrong. Nothing goes wrong.